Hi, my name is Fabiana Miranda and my partner Andrea Martinez, and in this final project, we will introduce you to the paintings and techniques we use to make our scrapbook, as well as mention why we chose them and decided to include them. Let's go with the first painting. Emperor Kanshi reading a book. In this painting, it manages the range of cold colors and only highlights its kind of hat and its lips in warm tones. Also, they contrast each other. It is a very bright piece since all its skin is very light and the tones are quite bright. The painting is from the Qing dynasty. We chose this work because of how curious it was. We applied a change to the original. Instead of a human, we drew a cute panda in markers. The period was from 247 to 210 before Christ. Venus de Milo. Now we move to Greece, where the marble sculptor had an incredible growth. The details of the sculptors are the most admirable and valuable of these pieces. The original measures about 2 meters. There is no clarity around its creator. We chose this work for its delicacy and elegance, also because it is one of the best known of those yesterdays. The technique we used was a pencil drawing, to keep it simple, and we decorated with a cute crown, wanting to represent female empowerment. We also decorated with color magazines to make it look like a mural. The 12 Proverbs by Peter Bruegel. The Middle Ages, it's a time of darkness in all kind of senses. This painting makes a little allusion to that, using opaque colors like green, black, and red. The only light it receives is from the white details that each circle has on each character. The painting is by Peter Bruegel, as I mentioned before. We chose this work for its curiosity. There are many pictures with different things happening. The technique we used was a down with pointillism. This made it give a little more light to the painting. The Praying Hands by Alberto Durero. The Renaissance was a time with a very significant religious boom. Praying hands, also known as the study of the hands of an apostle, is a pen and ink drawing by the German engraver, painter, and theorist Albert Dürer. The work is stored today in the Albertina Museum in Vienna, Austria. The light it has is received by the lack of ink and the clarity of the paper. We chose this work for the motions and intensity that it transmits only through the contact of two hands. We use the pencil technique to preserve respect for the original painting and try to bake it as well as possible. The Colossal Olmec Head. The Prehispanic Era. For us Mexicans, it is a mixture of sensations to think about this time. We come from there, but is remembered as an outburst of traditions and our culture. The Olmec head is one of the giant heads that were made by the various times mentioned Olmecs. They weighed from 25 to 50 tons. We chose this sculptor because it is so representative of this side of Mexico. We have one by the airport. We use the crayon technique to make it look like a bit more rocky and the drawing older. The Portrait of Christ by Juan Bautista Curris. This painting comes from the time of the New Spain. It was a time of dominance by Spain towards Mexico. Colonization and evangelization were reflected in art. This original work is very special since it's made of hummingbird and parrot feathers. It has very bright colors like that clear green and the yellow highlight of the crown. It is a painting with a lot of light and brightness. We chose this painting by Juan Bautista because it is very beautiful and the technique is very special. The technique that was used was the pencil, since we wanted to give it a different perspective so that the consumer could fill in the blank with what his imagination allowed. The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer. We pass to the era of the Baroque, which personally is my favorite era of art. This painting by Johannes Vermeer shows a girl looking straight ahead in vertical light. The subtle combination of color and the girl's intimate gaze towards the viewer has transmitted a lot. Such enhancement is due to a contrast between a very dark background and what can be seen of the girl's dressed body. That is, there is a tenebrism that in this case is almost Caribbean, although without the dramatic attitudes of the style. We use the market technique only filling in the most striking and expressive colors of the work.
The Arc of Triumph. We come to the neoclassical period. It was built between 1806 and 1836 by order of Napoleon Bonaparte to commemorate the victory in the Battle of Austerlitz. It is located in the 8th district of Paris. It has a height of 50 meters, a width of 45 meters, and a depth of 22 meters. It was designed by the architect Jean Charling. We chose this monument for its history and presence. The technique we used was pencil with markers. We're not any kind of architects, but this was the simplest and most complete way to show the magnificence of this great, well-known building. Wanderer Above the Sea Fog. Romanticism focused more than anything on landscapes, and this painting is no deception. Caspar Friedrich uses a cool color range: black in the central figure, dark brown in the rocks, and gray and white in the fog and sky. The only warm colors appear in the foreground. In this way, with warmer colors in the foreground and cold in the background, he achieves a chromatic perspective. Furthermore, because the foreground is dark and stark, while the background is brighter, clearer, less incisive, and painting is more blurred, Frederick gets an aerial perspective. The technique we use is crayons. We chose this painting because it gives an air of hope and some seriousness. It transmits even the sensation of cold, and we were amazed. American Gothic. Realism was an era inspired by showing off life as it really is, with many examples of people from the field working and things of this style. In this picture, you can see a very bright couple due to a use of pastel colors. Their faces are very expressive, and what the author wanted to reflect are the roles of gender. So, the man has the farming tool to provide. The author is Grant Wood. In this painting, we use pencil and markers once again. We decided to make it a little more minimalistic for technical reasons. We chose this painting for the message it conveys and for how famous it has been. Head of a Man with a Hat. Pablo Picasso, well known to all. A person who dedicated his life to art. In this painting, Head of a Man with a Hat, Cubism can be appreciated in its maximum expression. It occupies very Mediterranean colors with a surprising blue, but without clashing or attracting much attention. This is a work with enough light, but not overexposed. We chose this painting for how simple it seems, but the technique it reflects. We use markers and primary colors to give it a more modern touch. 1. Number 31. 1. Jackson's Black Number 31, 1950, exemplifies on a large scale the radical drip technique that defined Pollock's abstract expressionist style. Moving around a stretch with the canvas lying on the floor, he threw and threw strings of paint onto the surface. The canvas beats with energy, enamel ropes and skeins, some matte, some shiny, wave and run, an intricate wave of tan, blue and gray, whipped with black and white. The way the painting is on the canvas suggests speed and strength, and the image as a whole is dense and exuberant, but its details have delicacy and lyricism. We chose this painting because it is completely abstract and the interpretation is very personal. The technique we used was acrylic paints since it was what seemed the closest to us.